Hello everybody and welcome back to Out of the Park Baseball 21 and week 1 of Perfect Team. Well, it's done and dusted, and as you can see right here in our particular division, or our league I should say, the Golden Grizzlies, they beat the San Diego Toros 4-3 in the World Series, or the equivalent of the World Series, to take the title. As you can see in the playoff tree here, there is no Auckland Tuatara. And I'll take you through how our first week went. Didn't go that well, to be honest. It could have gone worse, though, I have to say. But there you go. There goes the champions in our division. Let's take a quick look at their team. I'll quickly click on them right here. If we look at their roster, check that out right there. Ha! They have got... Oh, they must have every player in the game almost. Look at this. Look at all these perfect players they've got sitting on the bench. And here goes, obviously, all their current players in their team. And that is an unbelievable team. So there's no surprises that they won the overall competition. Now, let's get to the league. Let's go back here and again. And let's go and take a look at the standings. And here goes the final standings for each of the divisions. And in the NC East division, we ended up third. On a countback, obviously, for some reason, or runs scored probably, and I'm actually quite contented with that, quite content with that result at the end of the day. At one stage there, we were in not absolute danger, but there was a little bit of danger that we might have been demoted, would you believe? And that's about 2/3 of the way into the season. I was only a few games out of relegation, so I went and picked up a few more players just to assure that we actually ended up not too bad. So if we look at the promotion and relegation standings, we ended up 66 wins, so we ended up 12 wins outside relegation, so nice and comfortable, and ultimately we were 8 wins away from being promoted, so weren't really in the race to be promoted throughout the season. And I think the biggest thing that I took out of this very first week in a brand new season of Perfect League is that, man, people go so aggressively in building their teams. I mean, some of these teams, look up here, the Golden Grizzlies, win-loss of 139 wins, 23 losses. I mean, a whole lot of teams here in the hundreds. I mean, 100, around about 100 is nothing amazing. It's really good, obviously, but it's not, mind-boggling. But we've got 3 teams with 136 wins for the season, and they just had unbelievable teams. But there were so many teams that I found that had some really, really solid rosters. So let's go and take a quick look at my team and see how things ended up. So I'll go and just sort this, say, by on-base percentage for a start. And Anthony Rizzo, here he goes right here. He's a guy that I picked up towards the end of the season. He ended up playing 58 games, so about 2/3 of the way through the season. 61 hits, 10 double baggers, 3 triples, and 8 homers. And 30 RBIs, on-base percentage of 384, slugging 481, OPS of 865, and did get a WAR of 1.2. So ultimately, I was pretty blimmin' happy with his results. He really helped turn around the team, really. And if we take a look at his fielding stats here, a zone rating of 0.4 in the negative, so not quite as strong as we would like in that position, but certainly made it up through his offensive ability. If we take a look at some of the other players in the team here, I think probably my player of the season would have to be Sam West, my centre fielder. Here he goes here, and he is only a 78 silver. But look at some of these numbers here. He did start in 143 games, so most games in the season. Average of 260, which is nothing special. On-base percentage of 336, which is solid enough. And but slugging a 533, which is really good, and a WAR of 4.4, OPS plus of 132, so some really good numbers in there. He also had 112 RBIs, which is definitely where we want him to be, right up there, and 38 homers. So really, at the end of the day, some pretty blimmin' good stats there, and he was in my team right from the very start. I did mention last episode that I'd take a look at some statistics and just talk through maybe what is good and what isn't. So if we look at on-base percentage, I mean, look, it does depend a little bit, but what I use is basically I want them to be 320 or higher. So 320 is average. I'd say 340 is above average, and 370 is great, and 390 is excellent, if you like. So at 336, he's definitely above average. Slugging percentage, WRC plus. I haven't got that on this one, so I don't know why I mentioned that. But basically, WAR is probably the other big stat that I look at. So wins above replacement. You want them to be in the positive for a start. The more, the better. 4.4 is not mind-blowing, but it's a good, solid stat in that respect. So if we take a look at the rest of the team, home run leader was Sam West, closely followed by Phil Nevin, who did have a pretty solid season. He's an 84 gold. His average wasn't great, and his on-base percentage 294 is a bit low, but he was a 2.8 WAR. Maybe that's a more reflection of my some of the other average players in my team. But apart from that, in terms of two doubles, Robbie Grossman was my best player there with 42 baggers across the season. In terms of walks, my best player was once again Robbie. And what about, well, we did walks, runs, 90, Sam West. He was on fire towards the end of the season. So when you look across my team, really, here goes the cutoff, maybe from Thad Bosley up, from an on-base percentage point of view, which is, for me, is a really important stat. And really only had 5 in my team. One of them, Omar Navarez, who I had basically a DH and as the backup catcher, he's right up there in second place in terms of on-base percentage. Only, he did have actually plate appearances 283, so he did have a few, not amazing. But as you can see, only 5 of my players up there. WAR was not amazing, and really, you need to get on base a lot more than that if you're really going to put some good numbers up there. My most disappointing player, that's hard to say. Maybe Didi, 85 overall, 281 and 305. 281's okay. 305's not great, but 0.9 WAR, only 2 stolen bases, although I did have my strategy set to not steal that often. Who else have I got in here? Jeff McNeil's another guy I picked up, 83 overall. Once again, didn't really have that offensive output that I'd expect. Now, what you do have to take into account is that they were against elite pitchers a lot of the time. So I'm not going to take too much out of these particular statistics. And I'm thinking next week or this coming week, we probably can see the opposition that we're going to be playing against. I don't think they're going to be quite as strong. So hopefully that will help us out and help us build our team a little bit more. Let's take a look at our pitching. And this is an area that I really strengthened up towards the end of the season, although you wouldn't think it from some of these stats. But Charlie Morton, he was there right from the start. Let's just go to WAR once again. So Charlie Morton, he was pretty much there right from the start. And some really good, I was pretty happy with the way he went. 12 wins, 7 losses, ERA of, where are we? Of 3.40, which is pretty solid. Have they got FIP up in here? They do, 3.89, so pretty similar. So he was a good all-round pitcher, definitely. Clayton Kershaw, he is a diamond that I picked up there, 92 overall. Didn't really perform amazingly. 4.03 FIP on 6.69, so he was let down by some fielding. So I do probably need to do some work around maybe some of my defensive ability. I need to really look at some of these players. I was at times just selecting players for their overall, and that's probably never a good sign. You need to look into them a bit more than that. If we keep looking at the starters, Steven Strasburg, who I was really keen to get on board, 6.07 ERA, which was pretty terrible, and 5.48 FIP. So, yeah, that says that he wasn't great all round. How was his stats? Home runs per 9, 1.9, 3.1 base on balls, and 7.6 Ks. Just to give you some context around those numbers, let me get to it. We're looking at Ks per 9. I'm looking at about 7.5, just over 7.5. Anything there or better is average. 8 and above is above average. 9 is great. 10 is excellent. So when you look at someone like Steven Strasburg, he's about average for strikeouts per 9. Walks per 9, I'm looking at anything under 3 is average, and then 2.5 are above average. 1.9 is great, and 1.5 is outstanding. So if you compare him to Charlie Morton, he walked a few, slightly less below average for walks, about pretty good for strikeouts, about average, and home runs per 9.7. And I use 1.2 as my average marker for home runs per 9. So you want 1.2 or below. He was 0.7, so that showed that he had pretty good movement, I think is the one. I'm pretty sure that movement affects, so the movement of the pitcher affects home runs, the control affects base on balls, and the stuff affects your K per 9s or your strikeouts per 9. If you take a look at some of these other ones I added, Blake Snell with another diamond that I added, If we take a look at his stat line right here, excellent strikeout ability, 10.5, but he did walk a lot of people at 5. Let's take a look at that. What's his control look like? Yeah, and as you can see, his control is only 50. I am using the 20 to 80 scale here, by the way. And so, yeah, 58, 80. It's actually not bad. I wouldn't expect him to be walking that many people, to be fair. So maybe he just wasn't feeling it this year. The final guy there that I've added in there, Garrett Richards. And how did he end up? Right here. Home runs per 9 were fine. Not many strikeouts and walked way too many people. So really not that great. So Charlie Morton, definitely my starting pitcher and probably pitcher of the year overall. If we take a look at some of our relievers, I ended up having quite a few bronzies in there that were getting absolutely smacked around. So I moved Madison Bumgarner into the rotation, into the bullpen. He was starting for a while there, but just wasn't having any luck at all. So once I got rid of some of the bronzies in here, I put Madison Bumgarner in there as my long relief and as emergency starter. But if I take a look at my middle relief here, they're not really, some of these guys aren't really specialists. I mean, Jose Alvarado, he ended up pretty good. I mean, ERA of 2.34. Let's get to the screens better. FIP of 3.4, so that's great. WAR wasn't amazing. You're never going to get huge WAR. But yeah, strikeouts per 9 were great. Great home runs, fantastic, but walked quite a few people. Joe Kelly didn't really come to the party for me. Liam Hendricks, that's the guy that I picked up. 87 overall from the A's. Where's Hendricks? Right here. He's actually a closer. I used him as a setup guy before Papelbon. And where's he? 1.2, so that's right on the number. 1.6 is elite from a base on balls point of view. It's excellent. And 6.1 Ks per 9 is not amazing. But at 4.26 FIP, still not great. So really, that's saying that the field has actually helped him a bit. And the final guy there that I want to look at is Jonathan Papelbon. And he ended up 69 innings pitch, 2.84 ERA and 31 saves. And it'll probably be between him and Morton in terms of player of the season. 1.2 home runs per 9 is great. Or not great, that's average. It's right on the number. And base on balls, so walks per 9, 1.9, which is definitely great. And then about average for K per 9, so that's pretty good. 4.06 FIP's not amazing, but an ERA plus of 1.53 and Alvarado 1.86. So that really is some outstanding numbers between those two guys there. So yeah, I would probably say I'm going to go with pitcher of the season is going to be Morton. 12-7, 3.4 ERA, really stood out as a starter. So that's who I'm going to go with. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. First round of Perfect Team. First week completed. I'll definitely do another update next week on week number 2. I'm looking forward to seeing who I'm going to get in my division. Hopefully it's going to be a little less brutal than this week. But perhaps I might take a few weeks for the teams to actually shake out in terms of those really big teams that have got a heap of really amazing players. So we'll see what happens. Next season I'm looking to improve just a little bit more and look to fine-tune my squad a lot more. I mean, it's hard to really tell at this stage because you're playing teams that are just so unmatched a lot of the time. So it's hard to tell whether you're actually doing something right or not. The teams certainly aren't balanced whatsoever, so we're going to work on that. But hey, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you are new, and until next week, everybody, take it easy.